The U.S. in the Second World War. Philip Garcia, Mark Gonzalez, and Leo Ruiz. To start off, World War II involved the Allied powers and the Axis powers. The Allied powers consisted of the United States of America, Great Britain, China, and the Soviet Union, while the Axis powers consisted of Germany, Italy, and Japan. Furthermore, this war brought technological advancements in vehicles, weaponry, and medicine. Technological advancements in vehicles. Submarines were used by both Axis and Allied forces in the war. They were used to sink merchant ships and warships, which consequently ended up lessening their amount of soldiers and their amount of merchandise, which put their economy in a bad position militaristically. The submarines were effective due to their amount of unpredictability and the amount of damage they would inflict on their rival. Furthermore, a lot of the submarines being used in this war were following ship-sinking tactics. The Americans used their submarines as the Germans did in the war. They were used from cutting off resources from reaching the Japanese, therefore devastating the Japanese militaristic economy. Although submarines were quite useful in the war, they didn't work the same for everyone. The Japanese and the Italians are two great examples of countries that didn't have as much success with submarines as the other countries involved in the war. Furthermore, submarines had a limited amount of time, range, and speed that they can spend underwater. Therefore, they had to spend a lot of the time over water rather than submerged under the water. In addition, renovations in radar and aircraft systems served as anti-submarine systems, which had the intention of suppressing the effects submarines had over the warfare, which specifically involves their detection and their destruction upon their detection. Moving on from submarines, aircrafts also played a huge role in this war. These aircrafts included bombers, fighters, and even jets, and many, many more. Essentially, aircraft such as bombers were used by both Allies and Axis forces for airstrikes. An example of an airstrike used during the war is the bombing of Pearl Harbor by the Japanese bombers. Another example of a bombing in this war was the bombing of Germany towards the end of the war. This impaired their ability to reproduce fuel and other resources important for war. Finally, aircraft carriers played an important role in this war due to the fact that they allowed aircraft to move around without having to use up gas. Additionally, aircraft carriers proved their importance in the bombing of Pearl Harbor. These aircraft carriers also proved their importance in the battle over Coral Sea between Japan and America. This marked the first naval battle in which ships didn't have to make contact with the other ship to weaken their enemy. Technological advancements in weaponry.
Radar. Radar was developed in the 1930s by various countries in order to detect the presence, direction, distance, and speed of aircraft, ships, submarines, and other objects by sending out pulses of high-frequency electromagnetic waves that are reflected off the objects back to the source. This radar detection system could be used in all types of weather, at any time of the day. With the development of radar came the development of anti-radar, such as chaffs, small fibers released to reflect radar signals for a short period of time, and jammers, devices that emitted radio frequency signals to interfere with the operation of a radar by saturating its receiver with noise or false information. Rockets. Both the US and the Soviet Union were armed with large rockets. In fact, America had a special system that allowed them to fire a barrage of 300 rockets in under a minute. America also developed the bazooka, a rocket-propelled grenade designed to help infantry take out tanks and fortified structures. Towards the end of the war, Germany manufactured the V-1 and the V-2, jet-powered rockets with the capability of speeds up to 3,600 miles per hour. The Manhattan Project. The Manhattan Project had a group of scientists working hard from 1942 all the way up to its finalizing in 1945. It was a precaution against the idea that Germany would obtain military advantage towards the end of the war. Experimenting was mostly conducted in Oak Ridge, Tennessee, Langford, Washington, and Los Alamos, New Mexico. Workers on other projects were unable to discuss the project with anybody, lived under false names, and were unable to use phones. The bombing of Nagasaki and Hiroshima. In 1945, 2 atomic bombs were dropped on the Japanese islands of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Hiroshima was bombed first because it was a center for military and industry in Japan. The bomb was dropped in Hiroshima mainly because Japan showed no signs of ever giving up to Allied powers. About 60,000 people were killed the day of the impact, and about 100,000 people were killed after impact due to radiation sickness. However, the bombing of Hiroshima was not enough for Japan to surrender. The U.S. decided to drop another bomb on the island of Nagasaki, killing about 70,000 people. The Japanese government surrendered on August 14, 1945.
Technological advancements during the war included medicine. One of the medical advancements in the war was the morphine syringe. It basically created a way for soldiers and medics to administer a controlled amount of morphine. As it is displayed by the picture, it is a tube that is attached to a needle which contains a dose that can be easily injected to a wounded soldier. This would ease the pain and lessen the shock for the soldier. The next picture displays the use of DDT, which basically was an insecticide that helped fight off diseases such as malaria, the yellow fever, and the bubonic plague. And it was mainly used in Italy. Here we can see that it was applied to everybody in their bodies. The next picture is the blood plasma. It was basically given off to soldiers who suffer from blood loss or from shock in order to maintain blood pressure. Since plasma could be dried up, it resulted in being a transportation advantage. It was mass produced and it was made into 13 million units of blood during the war because it could be given to whoever, regardless of blood type. The next picture is penicillin. This drug is basically effective in the comeback against decomposition, which helps save lives, and it wasn't mass produced until the war.
Through mass production methods, America is continually increasing its output of penicillin, a new drug that effects almost miraculous cures. The liquid medium in these bottles will grow the mold that forms penicillin. First, however, the liquid is purified by sterilization in great ovens. After sterilization, the medium is carefully inoculated with the seeds of the penicillin mold. The next step is incubation. Slowly, the mold that contains the precious drug forms in the bottles. All penicillin produced is used by the Allied fighting forces. The liquid now charged with penicillin is poured from the bottles. Turned into a powder, it is ready for use.